Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm Charlie and today we will be unboxing my latest edition, a Macintosh Quadra 700. So I've been wanting, a Quadra has been on my wish list forever, the absolute ever, and my first pick would either be a Quadra 900 or 950. But those are normally expensive, really heavy to ship, and often get damaged in shipping. However, I was checking eBay classifieds in Germany, and Germany's right next to Switzerland, which is my home country currently. And there was this, a $150 Quadra 700. Now this one was advertised with a Performa Plus display, and I didn't want that display because it was kind of boring. It was going to cost too much to ship, so I was like, hey man, I only want the tower, and can you knock the price down a bit? So we knocked it down to like $120, but then with extra shipping, it was still the same price I would have paid if I wanted to get the monitor and the computer picked up locally, but whatever. Anyway, so this is the computer. 3 fears before opening this up. Number one was that he sent me the wrong item and it was lost in translation, but thankfully this is too small to be a monitor. Second concern is shipping damage, and then the third concern is battery leakage. Now I asked him to send me a picture of the inside. It wasn't entirely clear and it looked fine, but I'm not entirely sure, so we'll have to take a look. So without further ado, let's unbox it. I've never seen a computer packed in a t-shirt before. Okay, so this is the bottom. It is missing 3 of the 4 feet, which is least of my worries. And here it is. Alright, so here's the computer up close, and I'm delighted to announce that there is no shipping damage at all. All the corners are perfect, everything looks beautiful. Now it is yellowed, obviously, that's a surprise to no one, so that'll have to be done. There was another Quadra that was for sale that was working for like a bit more expensive, and I probably would have bought that. However, this one had the badge in really good shape. A lot of the lettering was missing on the other one, but this one looks really good. Okay, so we have 2 fears out of the way, but now for the biggest one. Is the battery leaked? Let's see. Comes open like this. It is very dusty. Wow, unbelievably dusty, Jesus. Wow, that is quite bad. Looking over there. So the battery is under there. I don't know if it's leaked because I can't see it from here, but the rest of the board looks fine. Other than that's an unbelievable amount of dust. Wow. Also got the button thing from the front. Like some of the 2CX, 2CI systems have these missing for some reason, but that one's still there. The main failure point of these are the power supplies. These boards actually do not have any surface mount capacitors. It's all just tantalums, which is amazing. So don't have to worry about recapping the board. But this might be dead, and there is a lot of dust. So it heated up a lot while it was still working. I don't know if it works at all, so we'll have to try that. But first I want to see if I can get that battery out. So let's get to that. Let's get to taking the Quadra apart. Now when taking apart these desktop style Macs, it is always important to start off by the drive cage, where there is a single Phillips head screw to take out. This screw is fairly large and will require a larger Phillips screwdriver to get the screw out. This will give you access to taking out the drive cage and eventually the power supply. Next step you can do, which is totally optional, is to pull this tab over here to release the hard drive. Now the hard drive is on a special custom bracket and it'll come undone like any regular hard drive. The next step is removing the power supply. Now there's a little clip right where my hand is that basically unlatches the power supply and the whole thing will just slide out. There's a big connector underneath the power supply that makes contact with the board, so if your computer's dusty, make sure to clean it up when you're done. Then eventually, with a bit of persuasion, the rest of the drive cage with the floppy drive should pop right out. And thankfully, after looking where the battery was supposed to be, I was delighted to see that it was not leaked at all. Now, interestingly enough, this battery isn't a regular Maxell batteries that you see in Quadras. I don't know if this was a Euro spec regulation or something like that, but I'm just delighted that it hasn't leaked. Taking off the battery holder is quite simple. Just stick a screwdriver in here, and then eventually you'll get it off. Now, despite the success with the battery, the computer was extremely dusty, possibly the dustiest Macintosh I've ever seen in my entire life. I also have absolutely no idea if the computer itself even works in the first place. However, before trying to plug it in, I like to do what I regularly do and clean up the board and make sure everything is properly in place and that there is no debris that might cause something bad to happen. To help get all of the dust off, I decided to recruit my vacuum cleaner along with an old toothbrush. Now, I wouldn't normally recommend doing something like this as it's very easy to accidentally suck something up. However, I was being very careful and made sure that there were no loose pieces around, so I just continued to do it. Normally, when doing this, I would recruit a can of compressed air and a toothbrush and do it outside. However, at the moment it was currently raining, I didn't have any compressed air at the moment, and I just decided doing it with the vacuum would have been easier. My next order of business was to go about cleaning up all the bare components with glass cleaner. Now, I'm using glass cleaner since it's not very strong, and it doesn't really cause too many problems with different things. This is to get all the components clean and presentable. Eventually, I opted to take the motherboard out. It wasn't too difficult, and it's actually a lot larger than I expected it to be, and it looks really nice now that I've cleaned it up. The main reason I did this was because the inside of the case still had a lot of dust and stuff. But anyway, so now that the computer is all cleaned up, we can now put it back together. While putting the computer back together, I noticed the front vents were quite dusty. I decided to use a toothbrush to get these out as well. I was about to put the floppy drive bracket back into the computer case when I realized that it had a lot of dust on the inside. I decided the best thing to do would be to take it out and clean it up. The floppy drive removes really easily. There are only 2 screws near the front of the floppy drive, and then a little latch that allows you to pull the floppy drive out of the casing. The last thing to do is to remove these 2 screws on the back of the casing. Once removed, it should just lift right up from the front. Oh man, that's caked. That is a lot of dust. Look at the heads. How are they even still exposed? Holy crap. I'm honestly astonished with how much dust is in this drive. This has to be the most dusty drive I've ever seen in my entire life. Never mind that, let's get the vacuum cleaner out once again and start vacuuming. While inside the computer, I decided to do some general drive maintenance, including cleaning the remaining dust off of the heads and lubricating the rails. Here's the floppy drive before and after the cleaning. I think it looks a lot better and hopefully it works. The last thing I did before putting the computer back together was cleaning the fan on the power supply, which was just as disgusting as the rest of the computer, as well as the rest of the case vents. Alright, so I have the computer set up. It's not plugged in yet, and something should display on this monitor over here with a DB15 to VGA adapter. So yeah, let's plug it in and see what happens. Okay, nothing so far. Let's try powering up. Oh, got a chime immediately. So the power supply seems to work. Awesome. But will it display? I was having some problems with the computer displaying on the monitor. Now, I believe this was a fault to the DB15 to VGA adapter I was using, since I wasn't sure of the dip switch configuration to apply. I decided to pull out the only CRT monitor I had lying around, which was the portrait display, and I was delighted to see that it worked, and best of all, it booted. So it is off the original hard drive. I haven't changed the drive, and it does have quite a lot of stuff on here. So in the About This Mac page, we're actually running 8.1, which is the latest version of macOS this thing actually supported, which is a bit extreme in my opinion. I don't see a reason to run 8.1 on here, and I don't even know how they got 8.1 on here, because as far as I know, you cannot get 8.1 on here without a CD drive, so that's kind of interesting. So if I was to erase this, I probably wouldn't be able to get it back on because I don't have a SCSI CD drive. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it's in German, and although I can somewhat read German, I'd prefer it to be in English. So this is a bit of a disadvantage, but it does have a lot of stuff on here, which is pretty cool. Now that the computer was up and running, I decided that I wanted to erase the hard drive and install System 7.1. Now the maximum system that this thing supports is macOS 8.1. However, I decided I wanted to go with 7 because it's better optimized for older machines like this. The RAM hadn't been upgraded to a high enough amount to be suitable for OS 8. And also the hard drive had stuff on it I didn't really care about, and it was in German, which is a bit of a problem. I can understand German decently, but I'd rather it be in English. So, I'm going to be using the Floppy emulator to erase the hard drive, mostly because it has all the system disk images that I need, and also because the floppy drive still doesn't seem to want to work. So, let's get to the install. So there were two things left on the Quadra that I wanted to get done. The first thing is that the hard drive light was nowhere to be found. Now one thing I noticed about this hard drive is that it's a 250 megabyte quantum drive, and even though it's an Apple branded drive, this version of hard drive was never actually available on the computer when new, which leads me to believe that it was upgraded at some point. Now, seeing this was the case, it made sense that the hard drive light was misplaced, but I wanted another one just for aesthetic reasons. So I decided to steal an LED light from another hard drive that wasn't in use and soldered it onto the J2 connector on the front of the board. And after startup, the hard drive light works. Now, the light isn't in the original color. I believe the original color is supposed to be green for this light, however I think the red gives it a really cool and unique look. The last thing I did was set up a file transfer with the utility computer. I'm using a Mac serial cable in a network configuration to share files. This is because a bunch of files are on this hard drive already. So that'll do it for today's video. I spent a lot of time trying to fix this floppy drive here, and what I ended up doing was just stealing one from a system that I wasn't using, which was my non-backlit portable, and now the floppy drive actually works fine, and I think putting it in this thing is a better use of the hardware than having a machine that isn't doing anything. So yeah, that'll do it. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing, and comment down below if you have any suggestions for the system. Also, I want to thank everyone for 800 subscribers. My next video will be a special covering that. So yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.